Welcome to a special post-Monday edition of Super Bowl 57. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sidney Brownhead. That's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Akila's going to be on the IG.
Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app today. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch up on our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you haven't missed them, you can go back and listen to them and watch them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can get at us at all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. And if you want to subscribe to our podcast, which I know you do, you've done already, please continue to do. You can subscribe to our podcast at War or Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, that's War on Anchor on all podcast platforms. And while you're at it, just please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And that's War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun and free of alcohol, and we have very definite opinions. You have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakeena full power to give you fools to feel and be a boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad, get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. If you don't have a Roku TV, you have a bunch of handheld devices laying around. iPad, iPhone, iTouch, your personal PC, your Chromebook like I'm using right now. Just download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anywhere and anywhere you want, it's all right there for you.
And you know we...
Oh, boy.
Hurts with time over the middle. There's Smith. He's got a first down. It gets jacked out of bounds. 4-man rush. Hurts looking for a block. Gets it. Sneaks around Smith. Hurts looking, throwing another wide open receiver. It's Smith again. Breaks a tackle inside the 15. 3rd and 3. Hand it off. Gainwell surging forward. He's in. Touchdown, Philadelphia. Got to go for it. Surging forward is Hurts. No signal yet. Stay on track. 2nd down. Mahomes firing. It is caught by Kelsey in stride. Travis Kelsey up near. Pacheco. Good strong cut. Breaks a tackle. Pacheco inside the 30. Shoulder down. All the way down near the 20. Short motion. Mahomes looking that way, throwing that way. Kelsey got it. Touchdown. Mahomes, a lot of time, slings it over the middle, and it's Kelsey again. It was wide. And Bucker is hooking and hits the post. No good. Show blitz. They come with it. Hurts is blocked up. A.J. Brown has a first down. His first. Hurts has all day, loaded up, taking a shot, looking for A.J. Brown. He's got it! Touchdown!
And those... No, go ahead, Sid. Sorry.
Those clips came courtesy of Fox TV, Kevin Burkhardt, and Greg Olson. We'd like to thank them one and all. As the Kansas City Chiefs win their 2nd Super Bowl in 4 years, defeating the Philadelphia Eagles by the score of 38-35. Isaiah Pacheco Paccio, thank goodness I pronounced his name wrong last time for the season. He had 15 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown for the Chiefs. Jalen Hurts had 304 yards passing in a touchdown pass. He had 3 rushing touchdowns. And Devontae Smith for Philadelphia had 7 catches for 100 yards. Lakeena, the Chiefs trailed by 10 points at halftime. They came out in the second half, scored on every offensive possession, scoring 24 points. The Philadelphia defense, Lakeena, did not show up. They only had 0 sacks. Not 1, not 2, not 3 like LeBron James. They had 0 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. They did get a couple of good shots on him, especially towards the end of that first half. What I thought that he was going to, talking about Mahomes, I thought he was going to not return to the game because he's still gimpy on that ankle that he suffered a couple weeks ago. But Kansas City stuck to the game plan from the AFC Championship game, like we said on Friday, Lakeena, and they were able to roll in that second half, taking advantage of that bad secondary for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those games where you thought that it was all about momentum. You thought that maybe Philly had the momentum. Going into halftime, especially with the long halftime show being almost a half an hour. We'll get to all the other pomp and circumstance and the halftime shows and the commercials in a second, and a little bit probably not till after our first time out here. But it was one of those games where they had the momentum. The Eagles did, and the Chiefs came on in the second half. I don't know what stuff that Pat Mahomes had. Can I have some of that stuff wherever he got? He was kind of superhuman and whatnot, and he was able to come in and just throw 3 touchdowns, and 2 of those, and some of those guys were wide open. We'll get to the Eagles defense in a second, but it was one of those cases where yes, we talk about the James Bradbury play. That's all like a lot of people are talking about. Yes, it was a hold. Could they have swallowed the whistle and not kept the flag in the pocket? Yeah, they could have, but that's on the down a list of the reasons why Philly lost that game. 0 sacks on Pat Mahomes. 0. Yeah, he got a couple of open field tackles and such, but 0 sacks. That's not going to win it for you. And people forget that Jalen Hurts played that. I'm sure we'll have it on the clips there, but that Jalen Hurts play about 3/4 through the second quarter. That changed the trajectory of the game. They were up 14-7 at that point. Who knows what would have happened had that not had happened? And Nick Bolton, we'll get to him in a second too. But yeah, there are just so many things and such. I mean, Jonathan Gannon, I know he's a defensive coordinator. Well, maybe not anymore because apparently he's a finalist for the Cardinals job. Where were you? Was your mind on that interview instead of trying to win this title for your guys? Where were the pressure? What was the pressure on Pat Mahomes? Where was leaving guys wide open? Never mind, Kelsey. Forget Kelsey for a second. Leaving him open is never a good thing anyway. That's the worst thing you can do for somebody. But leaving guys like Scanlon wide open, Smith-Schuster and Jared McKenzie, who had a great game. Tony and it's just one of those things where you're kind of it was just so many things that would want Eagles in the second half. It was just I think Eagles. I know Eagles fans are pissed, but why they're being pissed about.
Those Philly fans are never happy, even when they win, but that's a whole nother issue. But I want to stick with the issues on the field. And the Philadelphia Eagles as a team had 115 yards rushing on 32 carries. I know Jalen Hurts led the team in rushing with 70 yards off of 15 carries, including 3 touchdowns early. But Kenneth Gainwell, who they tried to get going early, he had 21 yards. He was second on the team. Miles Sanders and Boston Scott combined for 24 yards. That's not going to get it done. I told you that Miles Sanders could be a hidden candidate for MVP on Friday, Lakeena. They didn't give him the ball enough, in my opinion. I know they have a 3-man rushing attack. You can include 4, including the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, but 115 rushing yards total as a team, that's not going to get it done. A.J. Brown, they were trying to get him going early, but they forgot about him at the end of the game. I thought one of those catches that he had toward the end of the game, it was overturned. I strongly disagree with that call, but it wasn't the reason why Philadelphia lost. But he was starting to have a good game, but they got away from him. Devontae Smith led the team with 100 yards off of 7 catches. I thought they could have found him more in the end zone. I think they did a couple of times toward the end of that first half, but they got away from him in the second half. Dallas Goedert, the tight end, had 6 catches for 60 yards. I think he was really only the other consistent receiver besides your 2 outside receivers for the Philadelphia Eagles. But like you said, Lakeena, that their defense, they're not dialed up. I don't know how many times they blitz. It sure didn't seem like a lot to me.
0.
And
Zero blitzes,
And
zero.
I know they recorded 5 quarterback hits, including that one hit. They almost knocked Patrick Mahomes out the game toward the end of that first half, but they didn't really do that much, in my opinion, being aggressive. And we saw Kansas City's young secondary being taken advantage of in that first half. But like you said about momentum being, it transferred over to Philadelphia's secondary in the second half being exposed, and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid crew just took advantage of it.
Yeah, man coverage. The Eagles performed on a season high, almost 56% of pass plays. And unfortunately, Travis Kelce capitalized on that. 4 of his 6 receptions were against man coverage for 39 yards and a touchdown. So I don't know who, especially that. I mean, it was sort of like, I know our buddy Lamont Scott, what's up, Lamont? Said on
Hey, Lamont.
asked, like, was it a Casey comeback or was it Philly Zippo? You could probably say it was both. I mean, look, Andy Reid showed that experience. He made the adjustments when he needed to, but at the same time, though, the Eagles just kind of went away whatever game plan they had. Like, Fletcher Cox. I think they only said his name. I'm talking about Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olds. I think they only said something like combined like twice. Hassan Reddick only had 1 tackle. He was like the guy that was, he was kind of like a one-man wrecking crew in the NFC Championship game a couple weeks ago against the 49ers. And Dominic Sue, I think his name was only called once. That was for a penalty. So a holding penalty gave the Chiefs a first down. So like, where were those guys? I mean, Darius Slay was leaving guys open. I mean, you went to a couple of Pro Bowls. I mean, you know better. And it was just like it was just a complete collapse by the Eagles defense. And look, give Andy Reid credit for dialing up some of those offensive plays, going, shifting and all that stuff. They did they tried to do the whole merry-go-round play again, like they did a couple about a month ago. But but look, Nate Bolton had 9 total tackles, I should say, including 8 sacks. Had the scoop and score that kind of changed the game. You could probably say he could have gotten an MVP consideration because he made the stops when he needed to, and it was just of course, Willie Gay, I think did his thing, and also too. Frank Clark did his thing as well. So Trent McDuffie did has some big plays as well. So like it was definitely kind of like a sort of a tale of 2 halves. The Eagles offense were able to keep the defense, Chiefs defense on their heels. The Chiefs offense got the Eagles defense on their heels the second half. The only difference is that the Eagles defense didn't make the plays late, and of course the Chiefs actually made the stops. So I'm talking about their defense.
Yeah, speaking of Philadelphia's defense, let's keep going on with some names that were MIA yesterday. Hassan Reddick, only 1 tackle. He had 2 of the 5 quarterback hits on Patrick Mahomes, but that wasn't enough. Josh Sweat only had 1 tackle and 1 quarterback hit. I know he got called for the penalty too, but he was missing in action. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I thought, had a decent game in the first half, but in that second half, he was part of that secondary that got exposed. So Philadelphia's other supporting cast outside of Fletcher Cox did not show up, especially in the second half. Andy Reid, as you mentioned, made some adjustments, and they committed themselves to talking about Kansas City to run the football. They actually spread the ball around outside of Travis Kelce. You talk about Kadarius Toney. He had that big punt return late in the game. You talk about Justin Watson. You talk about Sky Moore. He had a catch for 4 yards. So the Kansas City Chiefs made some adjustments during that halftime break. In Philadelphia, I don't know what happened outside the defense just stinking it up. It looked to me like they didn't make any adjustments, especially on defense. You couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes. Everybody in the world knew that he had a bad ankle, and you didn't blitz him a couple of times. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, the whole thing was just a terrible thing from word jump. And you mentioned that punt return. I think that kind of like changed the sort of like the outcome, but it changed the trajectory of that was just a bad punt by Aaron Sippus, and it was a wobbly kick to begin with, and then Tony was able to get it down to like the 18. Now the good news for the Eagles is that they did only hold them to a field goal, but that kind of didn't help their cause either. So that, especially with the way their defense had played. So it was just one of those games where it was just like there were so many things that went wrong for the Eagles. And look, I mean, you got to give the Chiefs credit. They win their 3rd Super Bowl, their 2nd in 4 years. Pat Mahomes win MVP, Super Bowl MVP again. Again, you could give it to Nick Bolton, but you know how people feel about giving it to defensive guys. Mahomes did break a curse that he's the first NFL MVP of the regular season, since Kurt Warner all the way back in '99 to win the Super Bowl the Super Bowl that same season because there had been a curse. You remember we talked about that. You know, the other guys that had QBs that had won, and it says Kurt Warner up until Mahomes did last night had lost. The other team lost the Super Bowl, so it was just one of those things where I think you got to break, you know, all that stuff. And yes, you're right, Lamont. I mean, yeah, he did. You know, Andy Reid did outcoach Nick Sirianni. So that play real quick before we go to break. I mean, yes, that Bradbury, hold or whatever you want to call that. I mean, he admitted after the game that it was a hold, so he did held him. Now I feel as though that Smith-Schuster, even if he hadn't held him, I mean that ball was like on its way to like Flagstaff, or Scottsdale. So I don't think he would have gotten that ball anyway. So, but then you go and let him have the opportunity, let him score early. You said about give or take about 90 seconds left. You could have given your team a chance to try to perhaps, you know, tie, if not win it, because you know Sirianni would have wait for two had they scored that touchdown. So, you know, if they had more time. But yeah, I mean, there were just so many things that were wrong for the Eagles. It's just that it was just not good all around for the Eagles in that second half.
Yeah, and I like the comments that Greg Olsen made on the telecast last night, and he said that mostly the referees will swallow those types of calls, especially during the last 2 minutes of a game. We talk about that in basketball all the time, that the refs just let them play. And to a degree, I agree that you should let the players decide it on the field, but if it's an obvious penalty, you should call it, and that's what the refs did last night.
So, so we're going to take a quick break. Of course, we're going to talk more about the game and all the records that Mahomes has at this point. Is this a dynasty for the Chiefs? I mean, so people are asking that question. Also, too, the best in commercials, the pregame stuff, and all the other stuff as well. Of course, we got it's halftime. Also, too, of course, we're going to do our studs and duds one last time this year, this NFL season. So, a lot to do still. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. More Super Bowl 57 talk right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
More pressure. Hurts spins away. Here comes Frank Clark. Throws opposite his body, and it's caught. Just get the play off here. Give it off to Gainwell. Pressure in the backfield. Scurries out of it. Out across midfield. And it's Hurts on a quarterback draw. Nowhere to go. The ball is loose. Sitting on the turf. It's picked up by Bolton. No one in front of him is going to score. Hurts, design run with room out across the 30 and still going for a first down for Bolton.
Oh, sorry about that. We were trying to get you some more clips here.
Hurts gets it out to Boston Scott. One-on-one, good move, makes a man miss, and another. And Scott is near a first down, and I think he's got it. Four-man rush, quarterback run. Hurts using his legs, stays up, and room to run. Jalen Hurts inside the 20. Now Hurts on the keep, has the seam, and Jalen Hurts is in for the touchdown. 3rd and 15, four-man rush. Mahomes in trouble. Mahomes now going to tuck it and run, and he is taken down. T.J. Edwards came to get it. Quick throw. Tony's got it. Tony walks in. Touchdown, Kansas City. Siposs. Low sinking kick. Tony on the run. Still up on his feet. Tony has a wall. It's another block. Tony inside the 20. Tony still going, and he's down to the
player on back-to-back plays.
Blitz coming. Mahomes, man wide open. Touchdown, Chiefs and Sky Moore.
And those clips came courtesy of the NFL on Fox from Super Bowl 57 last night as the Chiefs defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35. Harrison Buckner nailed the game-winning field goal, which is only a few seconds left to go on the clock. Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition, the post-Super Bowl edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in the living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, that's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG. Again, apologies for those clips not playing properly.
Shout out to our guy, Mr. Money Earning Mount Vernon Fairley. Welcome back, Vernon. Hopefully things are well with you. He says that on our Facebook page that holding call by the Reds are the sole reason why the Bears won't win the Super Bowl, even with all the great talent. That's why the league is a joke. As we said before we went to break, Lakeena, I know the referees in most of these sports should let the players decide, especially in the last few minutes of the game. But if it's an obvious penalty or a foul, you should call it.
Yeah, you really should. I mean, that was, and look, Bradbury admitted that he held him. So, he did it twice, actually. So I think, people need to, and I understand what Vernon's saying and what others have been saying too all morning, but I kind of feel like that wasn't the reason why the Eagles lost. I mean, I think people need to kind of get that out of their head for a second. Zero sacks, zero pressures on Mahomes, zero blitzes. That's not gonna win you, especially if you play someone like a Pat Mahomes who's not at 100%. They knew this. Jonathan Gannon, I don't know. We'll get to you I'll get to you in a little bit because I got a lot of things to say about Mr. Gannon here for a minute. But let's go through some of the stuff that Pat Mahomes has done now that he has another Super Bowl title and another Super Bowl MVP, another MVP. He joins a list of guys that have won the AP NFL MVP award and a Super Bowl in the same year, joining guys like Bart Starr, Terry Bradshaw, Mark Mosley, Lawrence Taylor, Joe Montana, Emmitt Smith, Steve Young, Brett Favre, Terrell Davis, and Kurt Warner. Not a bad list to join. He also is 5 years as a starter. He already been through 5 straight AFC championship games, 5 straight AFC West titles, 5 straight 12-win seasons, 5 straight Pro Bowls. Now 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and now 2 NFL MVPs. And he joins a list of guys that like Tim Duncan, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, and Mario Lemieux. Why? Well, he now joins a list of those guys, and now Mahomes has won multiple league MVPs and finals MVPs before turning 28. So that's a pretty impressive list there that Mahomes has joined, and also he's the first player in NFL history to win multiple championships and multiple league MVPs within his first 6 seasons. So, okay, I think I'm exhausted with all that stuff Mahomes has done. So
yeah, you're talking about Mahomes or Tom Brady,
right? Well, and look, let me ask you that for a second, because they're already some folks are saying, "Oh, is this a dynasty for the Chiefs?" Because Andy Reid's already said, "Look, I'm keeping going." Look, he's got 4 Super Bowl appearances now, 2 Super Bowl rings. He can kind of just, roll off into the sunset like, you know what, I'm done. But no, he says he's going to keep going. So what do you think?
Yeah, why not? And Andy Reid, of course, slammed those demons out of his skull. Excuse the expression, when he won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when they beat the 49ers. Of course, he failed to get the job done in Philly, even though they went to, I believe it was 4 straight NFC title games before they got TO in 2004. And finally, they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. But remember, I asked Randy Cross that question this time last week about, is Andy Reid one of the greatest coaches ever, at least in the top 5, top 10 list? And he said, I believe he went about it, he said yes to a lesser extent. And he's up there now, in my opinion. No, he didn't win it with Philadelphia, but he's won 2 with Kansas City, perhaps going to be one of the, if not the best quarterback in his generation when it's all said and done. So a great accomplishment to Andy Reid. He's always put out consistent playoff teams, championship contending teams. He finally busted with now 2 Super Bowl titles with Kansas City. But he's in my top 10 of that group of the best coaches in the modern NFL history.
Yeah, he really has. Has done a twofold too. Now, look, do I think it's we're the brink of a dynasty? I think people need to kind of be careful how they put that word out, because look, I think in their own division, especially. I mean, I think the Chargers are going to be a little bit better this year. Now they got Kellen Moore as a new DC, so you're on the hot seat there, Brandon Staley. We'll see where Vegas is. I mean, Denver. You got Sean Payton now, a competent coach now who has a Super Bowl ring himself.
Yeah. So
you got to think that, Russell Wilson, we'll see if he still has it. They actually have a pretty solid defense, a team overall, in the Broncos do. So we'll see how they look next year. So they've got a tough going in their own division, the AFC West. So I know Chiefs fans are both saying they're going to be boasting for like the next 6 months. Oh, goody. But, I think people need to kind of look at next year and sort of like, let's wait for a second until we start, especially, with the Bills. We'll see how they look next year. The Dolphins, the Jets, we'll see how they look. They made some minor changes. In the North, you got the Ravens. We'll see how they look. We'll see if Lamar Jackson will still be there. Cincinnati, they've been to a couple, they've kind of exercised that curse. The Steelers, the Browns. In the South, you got the Jags. They're an up-and-coming team. We'll see where the Titans are. So, and the Colts as well. So, yeah, they've got a lot of competition in their own division, too, and also in the conference. So I think people need to kind of just slow it down with the dynasty talk with the Chiefs. Not to say that they can't do it, but let's slow it down.
Yeah, they got away with it this year. Of course, we talked about it during the all-season Lakeena, but I thought it was going to come back to bite him in the butt, losing Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. Apparently, it didn't. But in this salary cap league, you're going to have to make some tough moves. And the Kansas City has gotten away with this so far. Patrick Mahomes is there to stay. Travis Kelce, as long as he's got some skills left, he's still going to be there. But all your other stars in other positions, they want big contracts, and all of them are not going to stay. If I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, of course, you're happy today, but you got to worry about your stars on defense, especially with Frank Clark. I don't know what his contract situation is, but in Mr. Jones over there, number 95. But I'm not sure some of those defensive stars want to get paid. And as well as I do, Horace Grant, the former Chicago Bull and Orlando Magic player, said it best on the Orlando Magic 30 for 30. In professional sports, you cannot make everybody happy. And so we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like I said, I don't know what their caps. I don't know what the team's cap situation is, but like you said, Willie Gay is another name that's probably something to look out for too. I'm sure he wants to get his paid. So there's still a lot of guys that need to get. And look, Juju Smith-Schuster, I mean, I'm sure he's going to want to get paid as well. Remember, they got him in that trade from the Steelers. So let's see how they're how everybody kind of like they got some young talent there and such. Travis Kelce, we'll see how he still looks, being a year older. He's over 30 now. So I think people need to kind of just sort of like chill on the whole like dynasty stuff, at least for right now. Now they've already let out some of the Super Bowl odds for next year Super Bowl, which will be in Vegas.
Okay.
That should be interesting.
And the network will be CBS next year.
Yes, it will. And who do you think are the favorites? Who do you think they have as the favorites?
Probably besides Kansas City, probably San Francisco.
San Francisco's number 4. They got the fourth best odds.
I would say the Jets, but I don't think obviously it's not official. They're going to get Aaron Rodgers or not, but I'm sure they're sniffing around the top 10.
No, not the one, not the sound I'm looking at.
Okay, so I'm wrong on that, but trust me, if Aaron Rodgers is traded there, they'll be up there in the top 5. I'll guarantee that. Let me get, like I said, I'm not on Google, so I'm just guessing off the top of my head. Philadelphia again.
Number 3.
Okay. Let's see. Not the Rams, not Seattle. Definitely not the Bears. So, and I don't see Minnesota up there either. I'm going to say Buffalo.
Number 2.
Okay. Let's see. I would say Denver, but they got Sean Payton. We don't know what they're going to do in the draft. And we don't know how Russell Wilson's going to look. I think he's going to look a little bit better next year. So I still won't go with Denver. I'm going to just throw this out there. I'll probably be wrong, but Dallas.
Dallas is actually number 6 as the odds I'm looking at. You should have kept with your first guess, Sid. You said besides. No. Besides the Chiefs, they actually have the Chiefs as a favorite at number 1 at plus 600. They got the Bills at number 2 at plus 850. The Eagles plus 900. They got the Niners at plus 900. The Bengals at plus 900. That's kind of interesting. Plus 1,500 for the Cowboys. Plus 2,500 for the Chargers. Plus 2,500 for the Ravens. With the Lamar Jackson's contract situation, I'm a little surprised that they would have them that high. But interesting, they got at number 9, which I'm kind of wondering, okay. They have the Packers at 9, which at plus 3,000, which I'm kind of like, really? Wow.
They Baker Jordan love to be that good, huh?
I don't. I have no idea. And number 10 is the Bucks, which I'm trying to again. I'm scratching my head with that one too. So wait, is Tom Brady coming back? Because he already filed the papers, folks. His retirement papers on Friday. So he's not coming back anytime soon. They got the Jags after them, the Detroit, the Giants, the Saints, the Vikings. And if you're wondering where the Bears are, they're near the bottom. They're at 29th at plus 8,000. So you can bet $10. You get $810. So
I wouldn't bet that just yet. We'll see what happens what they do after free agency lean up to the draft. But right now, I'm not taking that bet with Chicago. I think they can maybe be a playoff team next year. I'm not banking on it, but I think they can sneak into the playoffs next year with the right moves, obviously. But as a Super Bowl favorite, no.
Yeah, they got the Cardinals and the Texans rounded at the bottom 2 there after the Bears. They're in that bottom tier. But interesting odds there. So the Fox bets have that odds. So that's interesting that they have some of the teams there. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. So you listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Now, outside of the game, for a second here, Sid, we'll do our studs and duds in a second. But what was your favorite part, among the the halftime show of Rihanna, Chris Stapleton's national anthem, Cheryl Lee Ralph singing Lift Every Voice and Sing, Babyface singing America the Beautiful, and all the commercials. We'll start with the music stuff first, and we'll work our way from there.
I did not watch the halftime show. I had no interest in watching it. I saw some of the comments on social media. You could, as I always say, you can take it with a grain of salt. Congratulations, by the way, to Rihanna. She's expecting her second child. That's probably why she didn't do a whole lot of stuff last night, according to the comments that I read. I'll let you comment on the actual performance. But as far as the beginning of the game, shout out to Miss Shirley Ralph, a.k.a. Moesha's mama from the 90s, in that comedy series It's 11 from the 80s. She did a bang-up job with Lift Every Voice and Sing. And most people don't know this, you younger folks especially, but James Weldon Johnson wrote that song. And I remember we had to sing it in school back in my days, and so she did a great job on that. Babyface kept it simple with the guitar, with the America America the Beautiful. So he did a great job. I thought for a minute he was gonna bust out and do "I Love You, Babe" from 1987. That's just being silly in my head, but yeah, he did a great job. And of course, Chris Stapleton, you and Christine talked about it on Friday. I heard the name, but I'm not a big country music fan. But I heard the name. Like I say, he had a soulful voice, and he did a great job as well. I think he go slightly over 2 minutes because it seemed like he did.
Well, no, the official count I believe was like 153 or 154.
Okay.
So if you took the other 2 minutes, you had a nice little start there with that win. But a solid rendition of by all of them. Like you said, I mean, I'm glad Shirley Ralph is finally getting her flowers. Finally,
Yes.
She already has an Emmy and a Critics' Choice Award to her name right now. But of course, you can catch her on Abbott Elementary. Babyface again, like you said. I mean, they kept it simple with the hat, with the America the Beautiful. I mean, with the guitar, simple. Nothing, too much, but that's kind of like that's who Babyface is. So, and he still looks great, by the way.
Yeah, I can't believe he's in his early 60s.
Yes, he is. He is, I believe. He is in his early 60s now. So,
My goodness.
Chris Stapleton, look, I know some folks relate to the Chris Stapleton party. I know Christina has actually seen him in concert in Sioux Falls. He's got that cool, like, blue-eyed soul. I think my mom even said, wait, she thought he was black for a second. I'm like, no, Mom. I mean, he did perform at Motown. I think he did say Motown was, like, one of his biggest influences growing up. So, I believe he's from, like, Louisiana, I think. Or Kentucky, I think. He's somewhere in the Southeast. But, that was a really great rendition by him. But the Rihanna performance, I mean, you can never go wrong with an elevated stage. I mean, you can never go wrong with that. But I could tell she was pregnant because she wasn't doing a lot of dancing like she usually would do like during the performance. You kind of tell that something, either she was maybe hurt or maybe she was pregnant because she kept rubbing her belly. I saw a little bit of a bump there. So I know some people are like, well, how could people be so? No, I mean, people notice things on social media. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, she rubbed her stomach, basically saying she was pregnant, and her rep confirmed it after the performance. I mean, she performed all her hits. I mean, wasn't, like she, no, you got no Jay-Z, no Drake. I know some people there were some bets on whether or not either one that was going to come out. That didn't happen.
Jay-Z was actually at the game last night.
He was at the game, so I thought that
he was going to show up to do something, but I guess he didn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, she doesn't really need anybody, but I think it felt that it could have been a little bit more oomph. If I had to give it a grade, I'll probably say a B-, C+, because it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't like last year where you had all like the stages, different stages, performing and stuff. But yeah, I mean, they're just kind of like saying that performance for me, but yeah, it was okay. Not the greatest, but it wasn't terrible. But yeah, it was good for what it was.
Okay, maybe I'll check out some of the clips at some point. Now, I'll be honest, Lakeena, I'm one of those people that I'm just there to watch the game. I can give less than a damn about the commercials. The last time I thought a commercial was great which actually was 23 years ago. Remember the Baltimore New York Giants Super Bowl? The Cedric the Entertainer. He's a comedian for those of you that don't know. The Cedric the Entertainer commercial with the Bud Light. He accidentally sprayed that girl with that Bud Light.
Yeah.
I thought, in my opinion, that was the last great Super Bowl commercial, in my opinion. But I checked out a few last night. Of course, Donald Faison, he's an actor. Remember, he is for the movie and the TV show Clueless. I think it was him and two others singing. I forgot which song they were singing, but it was for a G5 T-Mobile commercial. I thought that was good. And what product was this? It was this was the lady. She was in flag football. Aaron Andrews was interviewing her. Aaron Andrews, I guess, was trying to tag her or grab something. She started running. She ran past security. She ran past other personnel. She ran past a white SUV, and then someone was chasing her. And what's her face was in the commercial. Billie Jean King said sorry, and then she was like a mini OJ sliding down escalators and stuff. I said, interesting, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it was one of the insurance commercials. I'm not really sure. I didn't see that commercial. I know people were talking about it. I'm not really sure what company that was. Now going back to that T-Mobile commercial, it was Donald Faison, Zach Braff, of course, from Scrubs, both of them from Scrubs, and John Travolta. They were singing from Grease, of course. John Travolta, of course, had his best vote from Grease. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was a really cool commercial. I actually like the I like the Uber One commercial with Diddy and Jamie Foxx. They had like some of the various artists who had one-hit wonders. If you remember, among some of the other ones, you had Montel Jordan, who actually figures into our Old School TV Monday show because he appeared on this show. We'll get to that later on. Donna Lewis and Hadaway, of course. You know, I can't sing any of the songs because we don't have the rights to them.
What it's off. That's all you do.
That's about all it is. That's about all it is. It's some of the other one-hit wonder folks, but that was a really cool commercial there. What was another one? The other T-Mobile one with Bradley Cooper and his mom. That was
a good one. Yeah, that was a good one.
I love that one. That one was hilarious. You know, his mom is a hoot, so make sure you guys check that out.
You did a great job, Mom. Okay, baby.
Okay, baby. Oh, you might win an Oscar someday. I know you've been nominated twice, but maybe the third time will be a charm for you. That's hilarious. The Lisa Silverstone Rakuten one, I thought that was really cool. I mean, they had
we talked about that on Friday. I saw it the first time this morning. That was good. Another commercial. I thought that was very clever. And the FCC, I know that these people had to be careful with the SEC here in the United States. Avocados from Mexico, playing on the old school Adam and Eve Bible story.
Yeah, that was, I'm sure the FCC kind of kept an eye on that one to make sure that too nefarious there. But that one was actually pretty cute. I like the one with Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston, of course, from Breaking Bad. You know, that was for the Doritos. That was actually pretty funny. Well, it was popcorns, I think, whatever company that was. I think it's a variation of the Doritos. There was another commercial I really like. Oh, the Steve Martin Pepsi Zero one. I thought that was
one, yeah.
I like that one. When he said, is he an actor? Is he acting? Is he not? But yeah, that was.
And then he tried to take off those surgical plastic gloves at the end, struggling to take them off.
Right, that was hilarious. Of course.
Another one I thought better than I thought. Found it was pretty funny. I forgot which product it was for. Ben Stiller. He was proposing to the lady. She started freaking out. He got kicked in the face like, pain is real, folks.
Yeah, that was a Pepsi. That was another Pepsi commercial. Yeah, I saw that, but I thought that was pretty funny. Some of the strange ones. I mean, the Squarespace one with Adam Driver. I think that was kind of odd. Like having multiple Adam Drivers. Like I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, depending on how I guess what role he's playing at that point. But I thought that was weird. The Sarah McLachlan Bush Light one, that was kind of odd too. You thought it was gonna be serious, but then no, the guy said, no, not today. But like I didn't get that. That kind of went over my head. I didn't get that one either. So yeah, those are like some of the commercials kind of like that had me like scratching my head.
One more commercial before we move on. Did you check out the Food Bite commercial? Because the way they did it, I thought I pressed something on my remote. I was like, I don't get Food Bite on my TV. So explain the commercial for those of you that missed it.
Yeah, the Tubi one, I think that kind of threw off a lot of us off because you thought that maybe they said the guys who did the folks who brought this ideas was like they set up really nice. You saw Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson. You thought the setup was it, and then started like you saw the menus and everything else. For those who don't know, Fox owns Tubi, which is a streaming service, a free one too. So all you need is to download on your smart device, whatever you got. You don't even need an email. You just gotta all that. But I mean, that was a weird commercial. I thought my remote was possessed for a second there. So
or they had a glitch or something.
Right. I thought that maybe something was wrong with the thing or the game. So I was actually that was I know that was bizarre, but I think that was very, very clever by the Tubi people, whoever thought of that. That was actually very clever.
Yeah, I thought that was clever too. And like I said, my favorite commercial was the avocados from Mexico.
That was a solid one too. Yeah, that was actually good. All right, Sid, let's go one more time this year. Our studs and duds.
All right, my three studs are Jalen Hurts, despite that turnover. Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown for Kansas City. And my third stud would be Devontae Smith. Even despite having a catch taken away from him via the replay, he still had 7 catches for 100 yards for Philadelphia.
All right, some good ones there, but I'll say Nick Bolton, who you probably say that probably could have been MVP along with Mahomes, of course, Pat Mahomes, of course, the way he came back from like, hey, I'm here, I'm healed or whatever, superhuman.
Yeah.
With his 3 touchdowns, there's 2 big touchdowns, and also too, I'm gonna say well, yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it different. Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, I'm going to do a. I'm going to give it to them because they actually played a really good game. They didn't do too much. They didn't make it about themselves. They let the game breathe. A plus for them. Calling that game last night.
All right, 3 duds. Of course, the Philadelphia defense. Their running game, which is my second dud, and my third dud, just because, and it's only because of what they did in the first half, was the Kansas City secondary.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was actually pretty bad. I think my duds, I'll say Eagles defense. That's my number 1 dud. Who else? Who else? What I would say is a dud. I would say maybe I'll say James Bradbury for not knowing. I'll say Jonathan Gannon for from that defensive coordinator. Yeah, they didn't play well, but you didn't do any better by with all the stuff about you didn't blitz Pat Mahomes once. You didn't go for that ankle even more. You didn't, blitz them. You didn't, try to do zone reads. You got fooled by various plays. Really? Was your mind on the Arizona job, dude? You're a finalist for? Really? And also, too, a real quick, Terry Bradshaw, who I love dearly, but during that trophy ceremony, it was not good at all.
Go ahead.
No. Just want to finish this real quick. Then you can do your thing. But yeah, I was like, no. And then you said, he shouldn't do it anymore. You got Kevin Burkhardt, who does it during the World Series. Get him off the booth and let him do it. Look, Michael Strahan is right there too. Get him to do it too. I'm sure the players would love to talk to him too. At least he's a guy who's just retired not too long ago. So yeah, those are my 3 duds.
Yeah, speaking of Fox TV, I was on a text chain with the guys from War Media and then the old D and Davis show, and I counted at least 5 times that Fox muted some players after the game, including Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who they were interviewed by Aaron Andrews. I was like, potty mouse there. But before Mahomes and Kelce were interviewed, there was about like 2 or 3 mutes. I was like, interesting. But that's what happens when you have instant access to these sounds to these players and you go live. So I counted about 5 beeps last night. Not beeps, but mutes. Remember back in the day, it would be just beeps. Or they would just let it go until they start changing the rules. I'm talking about the FCC many years ago.
Yeah, that was actually pretty funny and how they did that. But yeah, like 2 seconds, like it was a 5 second delay. I think it was 3, but now it's 5. So yeah, that was a little bit weird. But yeah, look, it's emotional. If they want to swear, let them swear. Who cares? Also, shout out to Melvin Ingram, who got cut by the charge. They ended up going to the Chiefs. Now it has a ring. So there you go.
Yep. Yay.
All right, and that is our Super Bowl talk for till next year, I guess. Everybody goes to Vegas.
Now we gotta go from the obvious high to the obvious low and talk about these Bulls. If I had any hair left, I would pull it, Lakeena.
Oh God, let's let that. We'll keep the Bulls talk to a minimum, I think. We'll talk about other stuff that's going on in the NBA right now. Some interesting upsets that happened over the weekend. Also, too, a major upset in college hoops involving a local team, and also old school TV Monday too, and a rule in the baseball that's people are not happy about. We'll get to all that coming up next. A lot to do in the second hour of the Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown. We go to the hardwood on the pro side right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80, SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comments section, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, Sports Zone Chicago, you can also catch now available on Roku TV.
Okay, Sid. Well, yeah, the collective groans here. We'll keep it short, though. We'll keep this talk to a minimum. The Bulls lose to the Cavs 97-89 after being up by, 12, Sid, in the third quarter. We'll go into the second half, I should say. Of course, Donovan Mitchell, I think, scored 14 of the fourth quarter points for the Cavs. That's how they ended up.
19 to 29 points in the second half.
Yeah, by 10 of those points, those 28 points. So the Bulls only scored 15 in the fourth quarter. Yay. Oh, goody. So Zach LaVine had 23 points, but made some really bad turnovers late in the game. And,
what else is new?
The Bulls had a season high 22 turnovers, so that's not going to do it for you as well. They fall to 26-30. Said, like I said, I want to keep this Bulls talk to a minimum. What can we say at this point? Is there anything we can say?
Yeah, I'm with you, Lakeena. I hate repeating myself, but it seems like we go through this ring around the posy circle with this Bulls team. When they have a big lead, they blow it. When they come back, they barely win the games. When they beat good teams this year, they beat them convincingly. Against the bad teams that come out with their tails between their legs and they show up like days ago in the game, caught with their pants down, no pun intended. But we talked about this last Friday, Lakeena, with, if you believe the reports, that Billy Donovan has most of the players on his side and Zach LaVine is on the other side because of some issues that happened early in the year with LaVine being benched by head coach Billy Donovan. If you're Arturas Karnisovas and you're GM Mark Evans, so you got to try again to trade Zach LaVine by season's end, and it's going to be very important how this Bull season ends. And it ends on a high note with them getting into the play-in tournament and perhaps qualifying for the playoffs. So be it. But coming into the year, even without Lonzo Ball, this was higher expectations for this team. For me, it was for them to get past the first round, unlike a year ago. Lakeena, it's really nothing much to say new about this team right now. They've shown you everything good and then some, both good but mostly bad.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of one of those days where they didn't get a lot of contributions from the benches and whatnot. I mean, Drummond had 4 turnovers. That's not good. He had a big turnover that kind of started that rally for the Cavs. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not good. Kobe White only had 4 points off the bench. So it's just like, okay, yeah, what else can you say? I mean, look, Vooch had another double-double. He had 14 and 14. Well, yeah. So, but no offensive rebounds either. All were defensive, which is great, but second chance points, that's been a problem for the Bulls this year. So we'll see. I mean, look, I know Danny Green's on the market on the buyout side. I know Pat Bev just got a buyout. We'll see what happens with Russell Westbrook. I know his name's being floated around with both the Bulls and the Heat as potential buyout places. So, it is what it is there. And thank you, Lamont. About the Bulls. I share your excitement. Exactly. Like, I don't know if it's excitement, Lamont, but but yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, I know it's a little bit nutty. I know. Of course, we know Donovan Mitchell loves playing the Bulls, and Jared Allen led the way with 23 points after his 29. I'm talking about Mitchell there. So yeah, I mean, look, they had a game prior to that. The fact that the Bulls were able to put them away early on, I think that was it's just telling about the Bulls season. But
Yeah, and one last point about the Bulls before we move on to the rest of the league. We talked about this on our last show, Lakeena. Do you really get the sense that really Russell Westbrook really wants to play with the Bulls? I know Paul George of the Clippers has been campaigning for him because they were former teammates a few years ago at OKC.
Mm-hmm.
But Paul George has been campaigning for Westbrook to sign with the Clippers. But if you're Russell Westbrook, the Clippers, Bulls, and Heat, which teams are realistically have a chance to win a title? Clippers first, Heat second, Bulls third. I know Bulls need a point guard, assuming that Lonzo Ball is not coming back this year. I don't think he's going to come back, in my opinion. But if you're Russell Westbrook, the only reason why you would choose the Bulls is because the contending teams ahead of Chicago don't want you. Why would you pick the Bulls over the Clippers and the Heat? Think about it. It's not hard to tell.
Right. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where it's not that hard. Look, he gets to stay in LA. Of course, he only has to go across the hall, so it's not like he would have to leave Los Angeles because that's where he's from. Miami. I mean, I try to think would there be a fit in Miami though? I mean, yeah, the Miami has various issues. We'll get to them in a second. But would you really want to go there? I think probably your best shot is the Bulls if you're a Westbrook. Is the Clippers, I should say, if you're Westbrook. So I think that's probably the place where you want to go to. And I know Pat Bev might be interesting shot. And look, I've been saying, look, Danny Green probably needs to come here too. I mean, he can shoot. We know that, and he can kind of
the Bulls don't have any shooters.
Yeah, and he also brings that defensive presence. So he was all defensive team 3 times in his career. So he might be the guy that probably best fits the Bulls. So, and look, the crazy thing is that the Bulls are still right there in that playing spot, and they're not that far behind from that 6th spot either. So all they gotta do is
that's what makes it so frustrating.
Yeah, and they're only 5.5 back from the Heat. So and for that 6th spot, so they can get in. It's just so frustrating. So we'll see what happens. Now, let's talk about the rest of the league for a minute here. So, as I can see, sports on Sports Social Chicago, Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you as we talk some NBA. Pretty interesting this week. I mean, yesterday too, because it was a light schedule because of the Super Bowl. Derek White had 23 points as the Celtics held on 33 points, I should say. So as he played pretty well. He had 33 a couple of nights before. We'll get to that in a second. But he scored 23 and leading the way there. So Derek White's been the kind of man coming out of the woodwork here and getting some scoring with Tatum and with Jaylen Brown actually having games off and such.
Yeah, and that's what you need at this time of the year. Your superstars sometimes will go through tough stretches and bad stretches. You need your supporting cast to pick it up. And Devin White, we talked about him last year again when they acquired him via trade from San Antonio. He was going to help them in that backcourt. He did that as the Celtics went on to the finals. So far this year, he's been good these last few games. Like you said, Tatum and Brown have both been struggling. I wouldn't worry about those two if I was Celtics fan. So you need other guys to pick up because it's a long season, 82 games, and sometimes your stars just won't have it. So you need other guys to pick it up, and that's what happened. That's what's been happening in these last few games with the Celtics.
Absolutely, and really a good game here on Saturday night, I should say. That I actually got a chance to watch this game on my streaming it on my smart computer here. Sacramento edging out the Mavs in a thriller 133-128 in overtime. De'Aaron Fox led the way with 36 points.
Congratulations to him being named to the All-Star team as a replacement.
Yeah, they deserve all this, as a reserve. He had 14 of those points in overtime. That was the most by any player in a single overtime period this year. So he definitely was kind of like led the way there, scoring 14 there, 19 points in overtime. So he kind of took over the game there. And I mean, I know Doncic had 27, Kyrie had 28, Green had 23, but not really much help after that. So I think they're like 3-1 since the Kyrie trade. This is one of those games where, look, it's one of those this games like this is sort of like, you wish you had won it, but the Kings have been really good lately. We'll see if they can keep it up after the All-Star break.
Yeah, it was important for Sacramento to win that game on Saturday. Of course, they lost big time in that quote-unquote 2-game series on Friday, the first game on Friday. But it was a bounce-back game for the Kings. All their big-time players showed up. I know it was the first game with Kyrie and Luka Doncic in the lineup for Dallas. I think they'll still be okay. But for Sacramento, they've been doing it all year with Sabonis now, the second All-Star with the Sacramento Kings with De'Aaron Fox. He's been playing very well. He had 22 points. Harrison Barnes contributed with 13. Kevin Huerter, remember him? He was the big shooter from Atlanta a couple years ago to help that team to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. He had 15 points off the bench, including 3 of 7 for three-point range. So Sacramento's been getting contributions from the young guys all around this year. And it's no mistake that they're 32-24.
Yeah, we'll see if they can keep it up. That's going to be the thing after the All-Star break. So we'll see there. The Lakers got a big win without LeBron. They beat the Warriors 109-103. I actually saw this game. Of course, it was on the ABC game of the week, Saturday night game of the week. And, solid contributions. Dennis Schroeder had 26 points. D'Angelo Russell had 15. He's been doing very well since being traded. There, Anthony Davis only had 13 points, had 16 boards, but they really didn't need him because the other guys stepped up, and LeBron said, "Hey, great win, guys, and you can just chill and they'll go to the Super Bowl last night."
Yeah, that was a pre-vacation. Let me take this game off. Let's go back to my days in Cleveland the second go around. That's what that was. Let me take my vacation off before this coming weekend's All-Star break. That's what that was. And number two. Yeah, and number two, the Warriors are, of course, without Steph Curry. So, as we said, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, the veterans there, Jordan Poole, they need to step up. I know Klay Thompson had 15, Jordan Poole had 29, but they didn't really get much off their bench. And speaking of the Warriors, they almost got in trouble here. That Gary Payton, the second trade, almost didn't go through because of Gary Payton, the second physical. He didn't pass it, but the trade as of right now is going through. So I think Gary Payton II is going to help the Warriors like he did last year on their way to the finals with that energy and that defensive presence coming off the bench. But the Warriors need more scoring right now, and they have to find it within.
Yeah, hopefully Steph can come back after the All-Star break. I think he's supposed to get checked again, so he will miss the All-Star game. That's why De'Aaron Fox is now in, now, and Steph is out. So that's how De'Aaron Fox got in there. The Knicks got a nice win against Utah, 126-120. Jalen Brunson had 38 points, and this is another one of those games where you're kind of like, they were right there. I'm talking about the Jazz, but the Knicks were able to kind of make those big shots late.
Yeah, the Knicks have been having problems lately closing out games, especially during the key stretches of the game. But they came through on Saturday. Shout out Kenny Albert. He filled in for Mike Breen on the MSG broadcast. I'll just start with that first. But Julius Randle, an All-Star again for the second time in his 3 years in a Knicks uniform. He had 31 points and 6 rebounds. But Jalen Brunson had 38, and he really came up big with some big buckets down the stretch. Who, in my opinion, should have been an All-Star this year, but that's a whole nother issue. But he came up big. He's been a real big addition to that New York Knicks team this year. Of course, they're better than the Bulls. They have a 31-27 record. I think teams should take them seriously now. Do I say that the Knicks should be a contender for an NBA title? No. But do I think that team can be better than that team that went to the playoffs 2 years ago? Got ousted by Atlanta. There's a very good potential they could be better than that team.
Well, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I mean, look, we saw what happened last year. They totally collapsed, and we'll see if Brunson can make that difference for him. I'm not convinced yet, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. The Sixers edged out the Nets 101-26. Embiid had 37 and 13 boards. Harden kicked in with 29 points as well. Not much after that. I know Shake Milton had 12 points, but that was about it. Those are only 3 players in double figures for the Sixers, but they did just enough to win that game. The Nets, kind of missed a lot of late shots. I mean, they were kind of like right there. They only scored 16 in the fourth quarter, so that didn't help them as well. They actually were up. They actually were up at the junction for a little bit, but the Sixers kind of kicked it into gear because a lot of those big shots from Harden were in the fourth.
Even though the Brooklyn Nets are a hard-fought team now without Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, this is where our coaching will kick into high gear. Jacques Vaughn's done a magnificent job, but we'll see what kind of coaching job he does from now until the end of the season. Of course, Brooklyn was right in the middle of the pack of the Eastern Conference with a young team of supporting cast members. You're going to have to learn how to win close games like this. I know they got away with it the other night against Chicago, but against better teams like Boston and Philly and Milwaukee, you have to learn the hard way how to finish games like this down the stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. They can keep it up now. The Bucks, going back to Friday's games, you got the Bucks beat the Clippers, pulling away from them 119-106. Of course, Giannis had 35 points. And such, they really had no answer for him. And the Clippers, Kawhi didn't play, unfortunately. So here we go. Giving guys rest now. PG did had 19 points there, but it's like, look, if you're a Clippers fan, you gotta be feeling frustrated. Brandon Boston Jr. had 20 points. I should say, leading the way there. That was this is a season high for him. But if you're the Clippers, you're not very happy with this.
No, especially playing without Kawhi. I know they have some young guys there. Terrence Mann, you saw what he did in the playoffs 2 years ago. And you have Marcus Morris Sr., you have Zubac, one of the best big men in the league. I know he's not a superstar, but he does the dirty work for the Clippers in the middle there. You still have Norman Powell, and you still have Nicholas Batum, who didn't play on Friday. But they still have a nice supporting cast, even at the moves they made at the trade deadline, getting rid of Reggie Jackson. You still have Robert Covington from Chicago there. So hopefully Kawhi can play with Paul George full time after the All-Star break, not give him any more games off. You had that chance during the first part of the season. This team just needs to go on to stay healthy, first of all, and number two, go on one nice long stretch of winning will do it for the Clippers, as despite what they've been through this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting. We'll see what happens. That one, of course, the Mavs, the Mavs in the case. No, I'm not repeating myself. Like Sid said a couple minutes ago, they did play twice. So don't ask. Yeah, but the Mavs actually split their this series 122-114. Kyrie had 25. De'Aaron Fox had 33 there in a losing effort. But look, I think the Mavs, the Kings got a little bit of get back on Saturday. So it is what it is there. So a nice win for them. And that's if you're the Kings, that's what you want. You didn't want to get swept in that 2-gamer. So you split that 2-gamer. So you're all good there. Cleveland beat the Pelicans 118-107. Just make sure you're frustrated as a Bulls fan that they didn't get back to Cleveland until about 4 a.m. So 3 a.m. I guess our time. So makes you even more frustrated there.
Yeah, and the other news on the flip side for the New Orleans Pelicans, Zion Williamson will be out after the All-Star break. He re-injured his hamstring. Just some bad news for that Pelicans squad. They started out hot at the beginning of the year. Of course, Zion was healthy. Everybody was rolling. And they were doing it basically without Brandon Ingram. Now Brandon Ingram's back. And they were starting to put it together over the last week or so, but they had a major setback on Friday against Cleveland.
Absolutely. So, we'll see if they can, we'll see if the Pelicans can do without Zion. Hopefully Zion can come back within the next few weeks. I know he's already said he's going to miss the All-Star game. So, which is unfortunate too, because he actually earned that spot, but that's just sad. The Heat, it just edged out the Rockets 97-95. Tyler Hero had 31 points. The Sixers beat the Knicks 119-108. Of course, Embiid had 35 points leading the way there. So, pretty it was a pretty interesting thing. They got a little bit of a kick back there. I'm talking about the Sixers, so that was actually pretty cool on their part. But
I think it's him. Yeah, I think it's Embiid and Jason Tatum, number 2 for MVP right now of the league.
Yeah. Well, Jokic may have something to say about that too. Now again, we'll see if would they want to give someone the MVP 3 years in a row?
No.
Maybe. I doubt
If
it.
it didn't happen to Michael, if it didn't happen to Steph, if it didn't happen,
or
the last time it
Bird,
happened was Larry Bird.
Yeah, that was
he
the last
deserved
time
it, by
that
the way.
happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
was the
outside
last
of
time.
that, I don't see it happening. No offense to Jokic, he's had a nice year, but writers are human too. They get voting fatigue, so I don't see that happening with Jokic this year, giving them the MVP 3 years in a row.
The Suns get a good win against the Pacers, 117-104. DeAndre Ayton had 22 points. Book slowly getting back, into his groove. 7 for 18 from the field, but he did end up scoring 21 points, and they did get the win. So if you're the Suns, you gotta be feeling pretty good, and you can make a move here, especially whenever KD gets back, whenever that is.
Yep. And one more score to pass along. Actually, our guy Lamont Scott brought this team up in one of his comments. The Oklahoma City Thunder defeated the Portland Trail Blazers on the road on Friday, 138-129. I know they got rid of Muscala. I'm talking about OKC. I know Lamont on the comments said that he's going to help Boston. He will, especially big guy as him, he could shoot the ball coming off the bench. He's going to help the Celtics because that was one of their issues last year. They didn't have enough guys outside of Devin White coming off the bench for Boston. So he's going to help Boston a lot. But OKC still fighting in there. They got young guys. Josh getting his second year, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Congratulations to him once again making the All-Star team. He has some pretty nice young guys, and all them draft picks Sam Presti has up his sleeve, but they still hanging around, and you shouldn't take them lightly. Go ask the Bulls. Just saying.
Well, yeah, and we'll see. We'll see if they can kind of keep it up too. That's going to be kind of like that thing. Can teams like the Okies, the Kings, kind of keep it up after the All-Star break? Now, speaking of the All-Star break, some of these games real quick. Tonight, Monday, you got Atlanta and Charlotte at 6:00. You got San Antonio and Cleveland at 6. You got Utah, though they're starting their East Coast trip. Well, continue their East Coast trip, I should say, as they face the Pacers at 6. Houston, Philadelphia. I know they've had some interesting match games this year. And the NBA TV game of the night, you got the Nuggets and the Heat. That should be a fun one at 6:30 on NBA TV. And Brooklyn and the Knicks. We'll see how both teams look as they're coming back from losses. Well, actually, Knicks actually won yesterday, but yeah. But yeah, it should be a fun one nonetheless.
All right, continuing with tonight's schedule, we have New Orleans at OKC at 7:00. Also at 7, yes, the Bulls will host the Orlando Magic. Remember, Orlando beat the Bulls last time they were here a couple months ago without Paolo Banchero. Ooh, it could get ugly tonight if the Bulls come out with another lackadaisical effort. Okay, wrapping up the Monday night schedule for tonight, Minnesota's at Dallas at 7:30. At 9:00, we have Washington at Golden State. And at 9:00, we have the Lakers and the Trailblazers.
Yeah, I think they already said LeBron's not playing, so we'll see how they do tonight. But it should be a good one nonetheless. AD versus
yeah, he got too little with the Super Bowl last night.
Look, they actually have a good team, a solid team now. We'll see how they do against Portland. That should be a fun one at 9:00. Now going into tomorrow's games, Tuesday, you got the Magic and Toronto. That should be an interesting one. And the first game of the TNT Tuesday doubleheader, you got Boston, Milwaukee. Could this be a Eastern Conference Finals preview? We shall see, or Eastern, playoff preview, whatever it is. And it should be a fun one here. It should be. You got Sacramento and Phoenix at 8:00.
And wrapping up the Tuesday night schedule, the second half of that TNT doubleheader, the Warriors at the Clippers. Of course, no Steph Curry for Golden State. For the Clippers, whoever can play at this point will be fine by me. And then wrapping up the Tuesday night schedule, we have Washington continue their West Coast road trip. They'll take on Portland Trailblazers at 9:00.
Yeah, I think Clippers fans feel the same way you do, Sid, about that. So Wednesday's matches, games, you got San Antonio and Charlotte. That's at 6:00. The Bulls go to the Pacers. I mean, Pacers came back and beat the Bulls a couple of weeks ago. So hopefully the Bulls will have revenge on their minds. Cleveland and Philly, this should be a fun one. The first game, the ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader at 6:30. Also at 6:30, you got the Knicks and the Hawks. That should be a fun one too. And you got Detroit and Boston at 6:30.
Continuing with the Wednesday schedule, we'll have Miami at Brooklyn at 6:30. At 7:00, Utah at Memphis. Also at 7:00, the Rockets at the Thunder. At 8:00, Dallas at Denver. Hopefully, all superstars involved in both those teams will play. This should be a good one. And at 9 o'clock on ESPN, hopefully LeBron James will play in this one as New Orleans will visit Los Angeles to take on the Lakers.
That should be a good one. Even without LeBron, it should be a fun one there. Now, these are the last slate of games Thursday before the All-Star break. You got Milwaukee and Chicago. That's the first game of that TNT Thursday doubleheader at 6:30. Yeah, it's before 8 o'clock, so I guess that's a good thing. But note the tip time, folks. We're going to the UC at 6:30. We know they're really 6:30 games here in Chicago with the Bulls. So note that start time. And you got Washington and Minnesota at 7 o'clock. And I'll let you do that last one. So that should be a fun one.
Unfortunately, no Kevin Durant for this one, but the Clippers will visit Phoenix to take on the Suns at 9 o'clock. So that wraps up the Thursday night schedule in the NBA, and that'll be the end of unofficially the first half of the season for the NBA. As the All-Star Weekend will take place this upcoming weekend in Salt Lake City, Utah. And that's your schedule from Around the League for this upcoming week.
We stick with the hardwood. Of course, we're going to the college hardwood this time. Northwestern gets a big upset, and could this may have pushed their ticket to the dance? We'll see. A couple other upsets too in college hoops, and also, of course, some baseball stuff. Of course, you got old school TV Monday still coming up next. A lot to do still. Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, where we're wrapping things up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean,
do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're in our last segment for today. We're live and live in color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
We have less than 25 minutes left. This is Strength Against. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. If you want to hit us up in the comment section, this is your last chance to do so. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Now let's continue the basketball talk about going to the hardwoods for college basketball. We'll start out locally as the Northwestern Wildcats shocked the college basketball world by beating the Purdue Boilermakers 64-58. Boo Buie. Don't laugh. That's the brother's name. Boo Buie, the guard from Northwestern, had 26 points. Zach Edey led Purdue with 24, including 10 of 13 shooting from the free throw line. Lakeena, Northwestern couldn't hit their shots from the outside, i.e. the three-point range. They were 4 for 22 overall for the game in terms of percentage. That's 18%. At one point, they were 1 of 8 in the first half from 3, 2 of 12 midway through that second half, but it was their defense that got them back into that game, eventually overtaking Purdue. They forced 16 Purdue turnovers on their way to the 6-point upset at home.
Yeah. I think I saw highlights. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I was getting the rest of myself for the Super Bowl. But it looked like they caught Purdue napping. I think Purdue got caught like not getting their foot off the gas. Yes, that's their defense. He did set up for Northwestern, but it felt like the Purdue kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit.
In the second half, they did because they got it going on. They had it going on in that first half. Even though they didn't score a lot, Northwestern still was in striking distance because of their defense. As we said before, Northwestern's a very good defensive team.
Well, yeah, the plus, look, I still think I think they'll those last few minutes where they were up, I think like 5 with about 4 or 5 minutes left, and they should have put them away. It's that simple. And I know Matt Painter's wasn't very happy after the game. I saw his presser afterwards. He wasn't very happy with how his team played those last few minutes. But look, Northwestern's their first win against a number 1 team. They were 0-19 against AP number 1 team. That's the second most losses in D1 history. Of course, Washington State now holds that record. They're 0-21, so they still hold that record. Unfortunately, even though they have pulled off a couple of upsets. But yeah, look, I mean, this will help. This will definitely help Northwestern immensely with their with the big dance considerations. If they don't have any bad losses, because it'll I think I know they play Illinois, I believe, this week. So I'm thinking that maybe if they can get a couple of those wins and keep it up, then they can be right there in that.
They beat Illinois once this year already.
Yeah, so if they could sweep Illinois, I think that would be even better for them for their chances. So again, I mean, they're definitely right. I think they're right there on that bubble. So again, I think the bubble's a little soft this year with all the teams, kind of vying for a spot. So we'll see if they can keep it up. Now, Memphis beat Temple 86-77. They're kind of trying to in that bubble too. I'm talking about Memphis.
My guy, Penny Hardaway, yay!
Helped them a lot that win too. Also, Wichita State loses to beat SMU in double overtime, so that doesn't help SMU's chances for the tournament. Now, going back to Saturday, there were a lot of other upsets. Stanford beats Arizona. That's that's the second time that they've beat a top 5 team. They haven't done that since 2007, and they beat number 3 UCLA, who they were also unranked. I'm talking about Stanford was. So a nice win for Jared Haas in that program. Alabama, who are now the new number 1 team in the country for the first time. I think this is like the early 2000s, maybe like the late 90s too, maybe even earlier than that. But they beat Auburn 76-69 there as well. Ryland Griffin had 16 points to lead the way there. Their defense, it was defense for a little bit in that game, but yeah, the offense kind of kicked into high gear, and Bama made some big shots late.
What about Georgia's 75-68 over Kentucky? Take that, John Calipari.
Oh boy! Well, Georgia, that helps them. Well, yeah. Well, Georgia, that actually helps them with their chances as well. So, but this is despite Oscar Tshiebwe had a nice showing there because he plays real well against Georgia, but they couldn't get the win. So, Kentucky, definitely a head scratcher there. Another head scratcher here. You got Duke had 22 turnovers in their loss to Virginia. I know there was a call late in the game that the ACC officials did say that it should not have been called, but Virginia had them on the ropes anyway, so it probably wouldn't have mattered. But I know Duke fans are kind of miffed about that, but that's not, look, that's the most, against the ACC point they've had since all the way back to 2008 with Miami. So I think Duke fans, they need to look at their own team before you start saying that the refs, because, some people said the rest, the Duke's gotten away with stuff for years. So
yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah,
I know
that's
some people say this is
basketball
like karma
for you.
I guess.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Going back to local league college basketball from Saturday in the Missouri Valley Conference. Belmont blows out UIC. SIU loses big time to Drake. I saw some of that first half, and that's what did it for Illinois. They couldn't, Southern Illinois rather. The Salukis couldn't shoot it. Drake, not the rapper, but the Drake Bulldogs bum rushed them with turnovers, and they got some easy shots early. And their biggest lead was around 30, 32 points, and that's what did SIU in. And Bradley takes care of Murray State. I got a chance to watch a little bit of the game. So SIU is in trouble here trying to vie for that top spot in Missouri Valley. Now it's just those top three teams are Belmont, Bradley, and Bradley, and SIU is out of it as of right now. But SIU needs to get back on the winning track if they want to get, like you said, one of those first round buys in the Missouri Valley tournament. I think it's about 3 weeks.
Yep, it's about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They're one of the first big conference tournaments to kind of start there. So not a lot of time left for Southern Illinois to get back on track. We'll see if they can do that.
And
now.
Drake, Drake is I think back up there now.
Drake, Drake is like in the top 3, 2, in the top 4 as well. So but Southern's not that far behind. So we'll see if they can kind of get back on track there now. Missouri, the Fighting Mike Burmers, as we call them, on this show, but this has not been a good week for buzzer beaters for Tennessee. Of course, they lose to Vandy, the buzzer beater on Thursday. Then on Saturday they lose a buzzer beater on to Missouri. DeAndre Golston was the guy that hit that buzzer beater for Missouri as they beat Tennessee 86-85. Rick Barnes, I think they're the first the last time the Vols lost back-to-back conference games by a point, they go all the way back to 1981, February 21st and the 23rd. So not a good. This is one of those weeks where you kind of just got to just burn the taste and just keep going. You can't let it bother you because these things happen, unfortunately.
And let's get back on that train for the Fighting Illini. Their record's now 17-7 on the year after beating Rutgers at home down there in Champaign on Saturday, 69-60. Coleman Hawkins returning to his old shooting form. Lakeena, no, he did not hit more than 1 3-pointer in a row, but he was 8 of 13 shooting overall for a team high 18 points. Dane Danger, pardon my mystical the rapper. Dane Danger had 15 points, 7 rebounds, and Terrence Shannon got back on track, scored in double digits. He contributed with 15 points.
Yeah, very good showing for Illini there. They're still trying to keep up and nail that loss that Purdue had to Northwestern. That should help them a little bit too, try to get that number 1 seed, or at least in that top tier to get that double bye. So we'll see to keep it up. Texas, no trouble with West Virginia 94-60. Baylor, this is a good game here in the Big 12. Baylor pulled away from TCU 72-65 late. Texas Tech upsets Kansas State 71-63, I should say. Oklahoma State, got a nice boost to their resume. They beat Iowa State on the road 64-56. So John Michael Wright had 19 points to lead the way for them. So, a very nice, a really good resume boosting win for OK State.
Indiana and Mike Woodson's crew, they're ranked number 18th in the country right now. They beat Michigan on Saturday 62-61. I had a chance to watch a little bit of this one. Juwan, that's a big loss for Michigan as it puts a dent in their chances to get into the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid. Call me crazy, Lakeena, after the Illinois win over Rutgers on Saturday and after Indiana's win. Call me crazy, but Indiana's the second best team in the Big Ten. I know some people want to put the number 1 after Purdue's loss yesterday, but realistically, I think Indiana's the number 2 team in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that could be interesting there as it comes out. Those will be interesting too, especially for seeding purposes as well for both the tournament and for the conference tournament, which will be back here in Chicago. Yay! So for this year, so that should be interesting. One there. Well, Arizona State needed overtime, but they beat Cal 70-62. They definitely need. They're trying to stay in that bubble there as well. Talking about Bobby Hurley's Arizona State squad. Oregon State beat USC, so this will be a little bit of a hit to that resume as well for them. Talking about the Trojans. So some good wins, but also to some bad losses. So we're kind of at that time of year where we're going to be talking about bubbles and such. You might have to take a drink, but but it is what it is with that one. Oral Roberts beat Western Illinois, I should say, the Summit League Conference 82-73. if they get back in the tournament, look, they've pulled out upsets before. I'm talking about Oral Roberts. So if they get in the tournament again, they could pull off another upset too. So anybody that anticipates playing them in the first round, don't take them lightly.
Yeah, you had to look out for those types of teams, especially during this time of year. Now with pro football over with, I know you have the XFL and some other leagues starting next weekend, but get on that college basketball bandwagon. You'll be happily surprised. Now, before we move on to baseball, Lakeena, we'll give you some of the key games to look out for as you watch them earlier from this upcoming week. And it'll start with tonight on ESPN. We have number 15 Miami visiting North Carolina to take on the Tar Heels. Miami got a big win over Duke last Monday. Actually blew them out. Can they do the same here in North Carolina? I know North Carolina's been struggling here a little bit these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that should be an interesting one there, and I think they've won like the last they split the meaning last year or two, I believe. So always interesting when those two teams play each other. So that should be a fun one. A couple of HBCU games to look out for as well. You got Morgan State and South Carolina State, and Jackson State, Bethune-Cookman. You got Alcorn State at Florida A&M. Going to the Big 12, you got Texas and Texas Tech on ESPN at 8 o'clock. They played a really good one, a very close game. It took them about 5 minutes for it to end, which was like 10 seconds left. But Texas were able to pull it off, so Tech will try to get their revenge. Also to West Virginia and Baylor, they're back in the top 10. Talk about Baylor. That'll be at 8 o'clock on ESPN too.
Let's go to Tuesday's schedule. We'll have Illinois taking on Penn State at 6 o'clock. That's on ESPNU. Also at 5 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, Patrick Ewing struggling Georgetown Hoyas will take on the Seton Hall Pirates. Seton Hall is 15-11 right now. Southern Illinois trying to get back on track on Tuesday. This game will be on ESPN Plus at 6 o'clock. They'll face Valparaiso.
Yeah, that should be. They definitely need that one in order to kind of keep up there. Good one here in the Big East. You got Creighton and Providence. This could be for like the top league spot in the Big East. So I know Providence. I know they felt that they were kind of slighted. They had their first meeting in Omaha. So the Friars trying to get their revenge. NC State and Syracuse at 6 o'clock on ACC Network. Notre Dame and Duke, that's going to be at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Kansas and Oklahoma State, they've had a few days off talking about Kansas, so we'll see if they can kind of get back on track. Also, K-State hope to get back on track too as they play the Fighting Porter Mosers at 8 o'clock on ESPNU. St. John's and DePaul on FS1, that's at 8 o'clock. Wyoming
Kansas
and New
and Oklahoma State at 8 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN. And then at the same time on ESPN2, Michigan and Wisconsin, big game for both teams in the Big Ten.
Both need that win as they are trying to get in that bubble. Air Force and Utah State at 8 o'clock. And also at 9, you got Wyoming and New Mexico. All those teams are kind of fighting each other especially with San Diego State vying for those top spots in the Mountain West, because all those teams are on the bubble.
All right, let's go to tomorrow night's games. We'll start in the Missouri Valley Conference. Bradley at 19-8 will face Missouri State, who are 14-12. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. On the Big Ten Network at 8 o'clock on Wednesday, we'll have number 14 Indiana visiting Northwestern here in Evanston, Chicago via Evanston. So that's going to be another big test for Northwestern. Is yesterday's victory a fluke, or can they keep it up against Indiana? That's another big test for Northwestern. They'll have the home fans behind them. At 8 o'clock on ESPNU, we'll have number 22 TCU. They'll face number 19, the Iowa State Cyclones.
And going back to earlier, you got Alabama now number 1 as they face Tennessee. Tennessee hoping to bounce back from those two heartbreaking buzzer beater losses. I'm sure Rick Barnes will have his guys ready for that one. Virginia and Louisville. I know Louisville, they play hard. I'll give them credit for that. I know it's not. This is basically a rebuilding time for Louisville, but they're gonna. I'm sure Virginia's not gonna take them lightly. It's at 6 o'clock on ESPNU. And Xavier hoping to bounce back from that Friday night loss to Butler. Kind of a weird upset there as they face Marquette, the Fighting Shaka Smarts. That's gonna be at CBS Sports Network at 6. Clemson hoping to bounce back from 2 losses last week as they host Florida State, trying to get back on track, and Michigan State and Minnesota. They host Minnesota, hoping to kind of hopefully not to have that bad loss, kind of push off that resume.
Yeah, let's go to Thursday's schedule. Iowa State at Iowa at 8 o'clock on ESPN2. We'll also have Utah versus number 8 Arizona at 9 o'clock on the Pac-12 network. And we'll have Stanford at number 4 UCLA. That's at 10 o'clock on ESPN2. And we have USC versus Cal at 10 o'clock on FS1.
And Gonzaga hoping to get their revenge against Loyola Marymount. Loyola Marymount faces Gonzaga. That's at 10 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. On Thursday, St. Mary's in San Diego. The Steve Lavas, as we call him. That won't be on anywhere on television, but that should be a fun one. I know, they're rebuilding out there in San Diego, but I'm sure he'll have his. I'm talking about Coach Lava will have his guys play hard against a really solid St. Mary's team. And let's see, there's anything else? Yeah. And Memphis hosts UCF. That's at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. So that is your schedule for this week in college hoops. And also, number 25, Florida Atlantic face Middle Tennessee. I'm sure they're going to want their. I'm talking about Florida Atlantic. Going to want their revenge too, since they beat them their first meeting at in Florida. So we'll see if they can get their revenge. I'm talking about Florida Atlantic. Okay. And again, that is your schedule. And now that is your schedule for college hoops for this week.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you as we wind down today's show. Before we get to Old School TV Monday in our second, I think it's our second edition of Old School TV Monday for Black History Month. Let's talk about baseball for a couple of minutes, Lakeena. I was checking out this article by Scott Market of MLB.com. He's there. Well, he writes for the White Sox for MLB.com. He's been doing a great job for them for over 20 years. I won't read the whole article, obviously. I'll just read the headlines. He says he has 7 early predictions for the White Sox. A couple of them are personal for him, but I'll just read some of the major ones. He has his number 1 early prediction, Tim Anderson, AL MVP contender. I know Tim Anderson was injured last year. He's nearing the age of 30. Of course, he has some other stuff going off the field. We won't get into that, but he says Tim Anderson is an AL MVP contender. I know Anderson is up for a contract after this season, but AL MVP contender, I'm not so sure about that. And he has next here a White Sox postseason contender. I think they are if they stay healthy, but a lot of things got to go their way. We'll get into it as we get into spring training. He says next here, Pedro Grifol is the right man for the job. We'll see about that. Also to here, he says, beware the Minnesota Twins. Like I said, Minnesota, I know they picked up Joey Gallo in the offseason via trade. I know they brought back Carlos Correa, but their pitching still stinks to me, and especially their bullpen, which was piss poor last year. So I'm not a buyer in the Minnesota Twins as of right now. And also his last early prediction, the White Sox players who are playing in the waste of time World Baseball Classic, he says the White Sox players who are participating in it will benefit from it, in particular Yohan Makata.
Well, your best hope is hope that they don't wear out. We've seen guys, play well after playing the World Baseball Classic, but we've seen other cases where guys, get worn out. So, we'll see what happens. But I mean, look, I think Tim Anderson can be right up there. Maybe not in that top tier, but in definitely that second tier of guys. If he can stay healthy and be productive, that was his problem last year because. He was productive, but he couldn't stay healthy. So and also the personal stuff off the field. We won't talk about that. Google's your friend, folks. If you want to do that, but I mean, I think they'll be okay as long if they'll don't shoot themselves in the foot like they did last year. That the Minnesota was able to sneak in there and win the division and pretty much dominate without making any big trades.
Cleveland.
Yeah, so Cleveland too, but Cleveland too. I'm surprised he doesn't have Cleveland as their. I think Minnesota is primed for another for kind of a breakout. I know they struggled a little bit for the pitching. It was that pitching that definitely didn't help them. As the season went on, that's why they fell off. But I think Cleveland's another team that you're going to look out for. I think that's definitely going to be Cleveland's division to lose. They made a couple of big moves this offseason as well, so it's not going to be easy. AL Central Division win for the White Sox. They actually we'll see how Detroit looks with all their new talent. So. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be tough for the Sox, but we'll see what happens there. And I want to talk some Cubs for a second because they got some of their promotions up in Adam. Of course, Saturday, May 6th is Fergie Jenkins statue bobblehead night. Also, Billy Williams will also have a statue bobblehead on the 27th. On the 29th, he got the NASCAR night there. Remember, they're doing that race in downtown Chicago. I feel bad for anybody that has to travel there during that weekend.
Is that this year?
That is this year. Yep. So they got a road course coming up this year.
Yeah. Whoever's the new mayor of Chicago by the end of, I believe, in April. I think it's the general election. That's whoever that person is going to have a tough task on their hands. How you go clean up downtown Chicago after that?
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Of course, Ernie Banks statue bobblehead night on the 19th of July. Star Wars night on August 2nd, I should say. Got Nico Horner as a Jedi bobblehead. That should be interesting. Of course, Ron said also a statue night. Also WWE night. Clark the Cub will be dressed as Hulk Hogan. I don't know if you want to do that, especially with everything else, but that's a whole different thing. Harry Carey, of course, statue night. That'll be on the September 9th. And September 19th, he got Hispanic Heritage Celebration, of course. You got Sugar Skull bobblehead, and also you got Sesame Street Day with an elbow bobblehead on the 24th. So that same month. So a lot of interesting nights for the Cubs this year.
I know they're not known as much as for their promotions like the White Sox are. The White Sox are going to have some more promotions as the season goes along, especially if this team is winning. But for the Cubs, it looks like they stepped it up a little bit. I'm like kind of proud of them for once.
Well, yeah, I mean, they might. I don't know if they'll compete, but I think they'll be right there for a wild card spot. I think so. With all the moves they've made during the offseason, of course, with Dansby Swanson among others. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, are they kind of going to get gear up for maybe a prime for at least maybe not win the division, but also compete for a wild card spot? We'll see. So it should be interesting. We'll see what happens with that. As this is Second City Sports on SportsZone Chicago, Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown with you. And now it's that time, Sid, about this time every Monday, especially during Black History Month. We're going to be saluting a lot of the Black shows and sitcoms. And this Monday, we're going to the wonderful city of, Motown, the Motor City, however you want to, whatever nickname you want to use. It is the show Sister. And I can't sing the theme song, whatever version of the song you like. But it aired for 119 episodes. It first premiered on April 1st, 1994 on ABC as a mid-season show. But after a short first season, it was canceled because the ratings were very good. But they did find some life on the WB as they air for the rest of the next season and for the rest of their run there. Of course, it starred Tia and Tamara Mowry, real-life twins who find themselves in a mall. Of course, you got Tia Landry and Tamara Campbell. They find each other in the mall. Of course, the parents are played by great veteran TV actors. Emmy winner Jackie Harry played Tia's mom, Lisa. And, of course, veteran actor Tim Reed, who played Tamara's dad, Ray, a business, I think he was an accountant or so, or businessman. Of course, Lisa was a budding fashion designer. Of course, you have Marquise Houston, who played the annoying yet lovable neighbor Roger. And of course, they were
Roger.
Roger. Yeah, that was a staple for the first couple of years on that show. But excuse me, but yeah, it tackled the trials and tribulations of them getting to know Tia and Tamara getting to know each other, and also some of the teenage, the typical teenage stuff, with boys, school, various other issues that was brought up, and says, of course, Rodrigo Lee and Deion Richmond Bud, Deion Richmond Bud from the Cosby Show. That's probably his best role at that point. Of course, came on as their both their respective love interests and stuff. Veteran actor Tony Guerrero, of course, came on that last season, that sixth season, to play their dad, who is white. I know people were shocked by that. I was, because actually, their real life father, Tia Tamara's real life dad, is also Caucasian. So It was a big shock. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a big shock there. But and also too, we'll talk about some of the other various guest stars, because there were a lot of them on that show. Mm-hmm. But Sid, I'll let you have the floor for a little bit. What did you like about Sister?
I was kind of in and out of that show, but it was good for what it was, because you didn't see any black female twins, especially twins at that time. I know you're talking about guest stars. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, I almost forgot they were guest stars on that show as well. Mm-hmm. So I think it was kind of like a Nickelodeon rip-off of a slime show that you got slimed.
Yeah, Slime Time, yeah.
Yeah, Slime Time, yeah. But I thought it was a very interesting show, especially when they got older. Like you said, it was a lighthearted comedy that dealt with various issues. And once they got to college, I forgot it was Tamara, they went to the University of Michigan. They really got serious, but they really kept it funny as well. And they kept it lighthearted. It seemed like they were themselves. And like you said about Tim Reed, of course, we as 80s babies, we grew up on reruns with the WKRP in Cincinnati. That was Tim Reed. Remember him too on Simon back in the 80s.
Yes, I loved him. Yeah, he actually, of course, left that show to do Frank's Place with him and his who ended up being his real life wife, Daphne Maxwell Reed.
Yes.
So yeah,
Of
play
course,
a show
Jackie
that did.
Harry.
Mhm.
Yeah, of course, Jackie Harry was the perfect mother for those two twins. I know,
Yes.
and I saw in various clips yesterday watching it here on YouTube that both the T and Tamara praised Jackie Harry for making them both of them be comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
And she said both of them said that Jackie taught them that comedy was about timing. And of course, you saw they had timing on all their jokes during those episodes. So it was a very good show for what it was. It crossed all borders.
Yep.
I didn't know how many people outside of our community liked that show, especially during the last 3-4 seasons that was on is CW now, but back then it was the WB. They really had high ratings. But like you said, you mentioned the guest stars on the show. Remember Kurt Franklin was on that
Yes.
show?
Yeah, on the last
Kurt
season,
Franklin
I
was on
believe.
there.
In the
Kid
last-
from Kid to Play was on that show. He played the manager of the bookstore. He
Yes,
was
we're-
on there. You said you mentioned Montel Jordan. I forgot he was on that show.
Yes,
I
he
guess
was.
star on that show. The late great Kobe Bryant was on that show.
I forgot that he was.
I forgot
on there
about that too because I saw a clip on Instagram a few weeks ago. I said, "Yeah, that's right. He was young then. He was just starting
Yeah.
out becoming that dude." So
Yeah,
he was on that show.
Yeah, I think he wasn't even drafted by the Lakers yet after when he did that. Because remember he did Moesha too. So because he and Brady, happy belated birthday to Brady. She just turned 44 yesterday. But yeah, I mean that Donald Faison, of course. This was real before Clueless. They were kind of all in the same family at the time. Keenan and Kel before they became big stars.
Yes.
They were on there. RuPaul was on there. The late great Brittany Murphy was also on there. She played their best friend for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, got them to do weed.
Yep. Yeah. Taraji P. Henson before she became a big star was also on there as well. She was on that. I think she was in the 5th season. I forgot. I think she played a friend of Tia's. To help Tamara find a boy for the episode 2. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You look at her now and think, wow, she is.
Exactly.
You wouldn't recognize her back then, but yeah, those were some of the episodes and such. You can pretty much stream it everywhere. Whether you have Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus. I think they have it. Tubi. They have it as well. So basically anywhere you get a streaming service, you can find Sister. So I think it had a good mainstream. I think there were other people who I think you saw a lot of I saw a lot of white people rave about that show as well. So you listen to Tamara's comments. I think they said people of all colors came up to them and would say how much they love the show, and then now they got their kids watching it. So, and they said that they wouldn't be against doing a reboot either. So we'll see. I mean, but what would you want? That would be interesting too. But like, I'm sure both of them have been through it. I know Tia's going through a divorce right now in real life. I know Tamara's got 2 kids. I think both of them got 2 kids, but no twins though. That's kind of weird. But will one of them have twins? Will one would be married and one would be not? Will they both be single parents, or maybe they'll both be married? The trials and tribulations there. So, but yeah, I think I think a sister reboot would work, or a continuation at the very least.
Yeah, like I said, if they get the script right, I think it would work, because what would happen with Tim Reed's character, and then Jackie's character, she got married on the very last episode.
Yes. Yep. To Richard played by Richard Lawson, Bianca's dad. Remember?
Yeah. So will they get divorced and then her and Tim Reed get together? If they do it right, if they do a reboot, I think that'll be the #1 storyline if they get that right. I'm just throwing it out there.
Look, I'm actually glad they didn't go there with Lisa and Ray, because it would have, to me, it would have ruined the series if they had gone there. I'm glad they kept them friends. I'm glad that they let Lisa get married at the end of the series, because I think it would have been better if they didn't get married, but if they get together. But that's just me. I know they teased a little bit for like the 3rd or 4th season, but yeah, I'm glad they didn't. They kind of just went away from that.
One more note before we close out. And I actually saw this clip on YouTube yesterday before the Super Bowl. I definitely forgot about this episode, but remember the episode where they were going to try out for the hockey team? They had to dress up as boys. I was like, yes.
Yeah, they had mustaches and stuff.
Hockey, yes. I know I got Evan F. Moore from Chicago will appreciate this. I hope he remembers this episode. I hope we can bring him on the show at some point. But they were going to try out for the hockey team, and they were throwing out hits, throwing out elbows, and talking trash. I was like, I forgot about this episode. Looking at that clip, I was like, yes. It was all about gender. They really didn't focus in on race on this episode, but it was about gender equality. Like girls could play sports too. That's the angle they were going with. But I thought the way they handled it was just pretty funny.
Yeah, I see. Lamont was not a fan of the show. And that's okay, Lamont. I mean, I think it was definitely a certain type of not necessarily race, but also like age of the show. I mean, it
Mhm.
wasn't like you said, it didn't they dealt with hard hitting issues occasionally, but they did it in a very lighthearted way. And I know that wasn't
Mhm.
that wasn't a big. I know that was always a big problem with sitcoms, especially when you try to do hard hitting issues. You don't want to be too preachy and such. So
Mhm.
I know Ray ran for office for a little bit, in that last season because you didn't see him for too much in that last season. I mean, could have went on another year or two. I mean, maybe, but I think I think Tia and Samara, they both got accepted to college at that point, so I think they wanted to kind of have that experience. So I don't blame them. I mean, yeah, it could have been less because I think it was one of the top rated shows on the WB for the whole their entire run. So they really didn't have a bad season.
Right. Of course, they were going up against other great shows on that network at the time. Jamie Foxx, Steve Harvey's show. Of course, the Wayans brothers. Let's not forget that. I'm sure we'll do that show at some point. But yeah, they were right up there with those other shows just on that network alone. Of course, their brother station, quote unquote, UPN has some great shows as well outside of Moesha and Girlfriends. I'm sure we'll get to those shows at some point. But yeah, Sister Sil held up their own. ABC gave up on them too soon, but they started well on that new network at the time called the WB.
Well, thankfully the WB, because the WB owned the show. So, because a little fact here, the Full House was because remember that the year that WB launched was also the same year Full House ended, and that show
In '95.
Yep, and the WB wanted them to kind of be like the anchor of that network, but John Stamos and Candace Cameron Bure both said no. And of course, they asked Sister they were going to come in, and that show ended up being the anchor for that network on the sitcom side. So, it's weird how timing and how things work at sometimes. But yeah, I think Sister was one of those shows where it had a great impact on people and such. It showed Black women, especially in a positive light and such. So yeah, I would love for a reboot as long as the script is right, as long as the story is right. I mean, it would be great. But yeah, so.
We saw them grow up before our eyes. Yeah, we saw them grow up before our eyes.
Right. Also, it actually ended well. I think Lisa getting married, and of course the girls going off to their respective journeys and such. So I think it ended perfectly. So I think it was going to be tough to top that ending that they ended up having.
All right, so that's Lakeena's entry into our Black History Month Old School TV Monday series, Sister. Great job, girl. Great job.
And yes, and instead it'll be Sid's turn next week, so you're gonna have to tune in to see which show will it be.
You guys gonna love next week, so I'll leave it at that. But Lakeena, should I tip my hand on Friday if you guys are listening, watching, are good? If they behave themselves, maybe I'll tell it on Friday. But if you guys out there listening and watching, you guys better be good. If you're good, I might reveal my hand on Friday. I'll just leave it at that.
He might give you a couple of hints too. He just might. But yeah, you guys can ponder that. With that said, you can follow me at you can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Keita's gonna be on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again, at CK80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Yes, and don't forget, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago now available on Roku TV.
Exactly. So yeah, so just do the search on whatever device you have. It's all right there for you. If you got the Roku app on your smart TV, just put on Sports Zone Chicago. It's all right there. You catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. What's up, cuz? I know they're gonna have a lot to say about the Super Bowl coming up. I don't know if they're gonna do their show tonight, but I'm sure you can catch them. I guess. But yeah, so you guys can check them out anywhere you want, right there on Sports Zone Chicago. Don't forget War Media, War on Anchor, wherever you get your podcast. You can listen to this episode and all our episodes right there, wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, so catch us Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as you young folks would say. Catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. You better stay tuned for this Friday show because it's going to be a great one.
Yes, you guys got to tune in to find out. Well, actually, we'll get the little bit of teaser out the way. Of course, around this time in the last couple of years, we're going to be doing our NBA midseason preview. We'll keep the Bulls talk to a minimum, we promise, with some familiar names, maybe some new. Well, yeah, with some familiar names and some new names too. So, you gotta stay tuned. We're not gonna tell you who they are yet, but we're gonna, you're gonna have to stay tuned to find out who's gonna be a part of our panel this time.
And can the panel convince me to tune into this year's All-Star Weekend? Because even though it's my favorite time of the year, Lakeena, outside of the beginning of Sunday's game where they're going to pick how they're going to pick the teams, I'm not sure that I'm excited for this All-Star Weekend. Let's see if the panel can convince me on that, among other things.
I'm sure they'll try, but yeah, it's more that flyer that was circulating over the weekend. I mean, if you'll just look it up, but I don't know if that's a good way to start. You're trying to preview for the All-Star break, but well, look it up yourself, folks. I'm not gonna, whatever hash that, but yeah, I'm sure they'll try to convince you. I know a couple of our friends are big fans of the All-Star break, so we'll see what happens there. But look, for Sid, I'm Lakeena. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we got a big show coming up this Friday, so make sure you guys stay tuned. We'll see you then.
Love, peace, hair grease, holla.